Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of Board Chats here on Private Club Radio, brought to you by our friends, Concert Golf Partners. We continue the conversation with Christian and Jordan. In part 2, we're going to go over the fiduciary responsibilities of board members, the importance of strategic long-term planning, and how to transform underutilized club spaces into amazing hotspots that not only attract new members, but also retain your current members, and it also makes your staff happier. We're very fortunate to have Christian and Jordan as our guests on this episode because they bring a fresh and innovative perspective to our discussion. We're going to talk about how board members need to understand their fiduciary responsibilities and really think about the long-term health of their club, because they need to be aware of the key performance indicators, the KPIs, like member engagement, club utilization, and the need to explore different options when trying to access capital. We also talk about an important topic and a hot topic now, which is how to transform underutilized or underperforming spaces. By upgrading and using these spaces in a much more efficient way, we can take that and offer a really enjoyable experience to the members that really boosts the member engagement. One of the big things now is taking underutilized pool space and turning it into a really cool hotspot by adding amenities like a tiki bar or furniture, limited menus. There's little things that clubs can do now that really enhance their club space, which brings in more members. And we touch on the changing trends in private club memberships, and being able to highlight and execute on adapting and catering to a younger membership. And really summing it all up, it's about providing an environment that is not only member focused, but staff focused, and creating experiences that exceed their expectations, because that's going to help attract, keep members, as well as attract and keep retaining staff. So welcome back to part 2. Once again, here's Christian and Jordan. What sort of, key performance indicators, some like KPIs that, are just standard?
Time at the club. Are your members spending time there, right? You can look at your month to month, quarter to quarter, year over year, sort of utilization of the club. How many folks on average are at the pool on the weekend? It was a gorgeous 85-degree sunny day. Why was no one there? Are we doing things to attract member engagement? Are we providing fun places? Are we taking the space that we have and making it engaging and comfortable and inviting for people to spend time there? I think we've always been at Concert very proud of our level of member engagement, because the programming is big, recognizing is it a family-oriented club? Is it strictly golf? Is it tennis? And yet we have to realize that we want to include paddleball, or pickleball. I mean, what are the opportunities, and how are we taking advantage of those opportunities, so that people are there and spending time? And to me, that's always going to be a driving force that you can see very easily, and it's not necessarily showing up on a spreadsheet. But I would assume that, anytime you've got a healthy area, a bar area, a terrace, a pool that has food and bev, you're going to see, kind of the black and white numbers reflect your success in those areas also.
Yeah, a way to measure that on a spreadsheet is, spend to dues, right? Everybody pays a dues amount. Well, how much are they spending every month at the club? And I don't mean that from a revenue or profitability standpoint. That may be a little less important to a board, but it does show engagement. And then at the end of the day, that engagement and them being there is going to help retention. It's going to help them recruit their friends who are members and always have membership there. And that will help your club thrive. And so monitoring, am I showing up? Am I walking 9 holes and I'm leaving, right? Where I'm just paying dues. Am I that type of member? Or am I paying a cart fee? Am I bringing a guest because I want to show off the club or I want to do business there? We're staying, we're having lunch, we're grabbing beers. We're, on the weekend, I'm bringing friends and we're having food and drinks and we're hitting on the indoor simulator because the weather was bad. And, those are the things where people are using the club, you're enjoying it. But it's a way to practically monitor exactly what people are spending, right? You have to pay attention to good boards are putting all the tools in their tool belt. They're talking to people at concert. They're understanding our business model because it could be perfectly successful for their club. There's a lot of boards that, they just think, oh, we would never want to be owned by a corporation just because. No reason other than that thought, and because they're member owned, they're an equity club. And we always go, well, hold on a minute. Why wouldn't you want to explore? We have capital. We have a model. When you go to Ruth's Chris, you don't think, are they corporately owned? Like, no, you think like, I hope that what I pay for this meal is really good. We are a way to access capital at your club, a very unique way. And you should understand that as a board member, as a fiduciary.
So what I'm kind of gathering from everything is, the key to success is obviously having a really good board, but I think it's like having board members that, understand the actual responsibility of what their role is in that position. And it's not personal. It's about the greater good of the whole. Just being able to put the ego aside and go, hey, I should explore all different options, especially if I don't, even if I don't like it. Because then I think it helps when you come to the table, you can now go, hey, you can explain, I think, the argument better to, because I shouldn't say there's going to be an argument, but there's going to be pushback. But I think when you can understand both sides and get information from both sides, you can then articulate, why it's a good thing.
Yeah. Dunn, you make a couple great points there. I mean, the primary responsibilities of the modern day board of a private club, there's a couple, but the fiduciary responsibility is a big one because that's what's going to keep the club ticking and the membership happy for the long haul. We talked a little bit earlier about the length of time that you're kind of responsible for, and it's not a month or a quarter or a year or two at a time. There needs to be a healthy financial plan in place for what does our next 5 years look like? What does the next 10 years look like? And if you start to chew off bigger segments in that way, you're going to find that 30 and 50 and 100 years should and will be successful. But there's got to be this very specific fiduciary responsibility about responsible spending, and care to potentially assess, depending on whether or not your membership can handle it. Some can, some cannot. And if that's going to lead to member attrition, or if it's going to provide an influx of capital that'll really help you identify needs. In part of the financial or fiduciary responsibility, there's this identifying what's truly important for the longer term, again, health of the club. And so where you get into sort of a tough spot as I think a board member is that if the ductwork needs to be redone, or if the parking lot needs to be repaved, or if the roof needs some updating, those aren't highly visible and fun projects to promote and to allocate capital towards. But those are things that need to be done. I mean, we talk a lot about deferred maintenance and the amount of money that it requires to maintain a clubhouse that might be 30, 50,000 square feet, let alone the grounds, the property, the golf course, all of it. And so I think one is that fiduciary responsibility. Two is to be purely member driven and responsible and not have an agenda or an ego where you say, hey, I want to redo the greens because all my golf buddies are going to love it. And they're all going to buy me a beer at the end of the day because I'll be the popular guy in the clubhouse for making our greens top notch, So I think, long-term health comes with the fiduciary and it comes with really listening to your membership and setting your own agenda aside, sort of understanding the body of the membership, what it looks like. That also means being able to put down maybe one loud voice that has a high opinion about something that isn't a response. It's not a primary focus for the majority of the membership, and being able to kind of wade through the voices, determine what's really healthy for the club, and pursue it. And that's a conversation that we have quite a bit in what Jordan and I do because, Concert has our model and we've been very successful with it. And as a result, we're really fortunate to have 30 thriving clubs. We have happy members and we have beautiful golf courses. We find clubs that we know would benefit tremendously from talking to us, maybe aren't willing to just because of the fear of the unknown, or it's just an entity that they don't fully understand. And and turning over the keys can be very scary, especially for some of these clubs. I mean, the tradition and history of these clubs, they're 100 years plus old. So they're just sort of unknowingly not willing to gather information, not willing to have those conversations. And, and we represent Concert Golf. Maybe we're a great fit for them. Maybe we're not, but there are tools available to the modern day board member. And I think it's really important and healthy that they do their own homework, ask those questions, and understand, what all sort of arrows they have in their quiver and utilize them to the best of their club's needs and wants.
And so to that, to summarize it, any club that's wondering how are we going to pay for X upcoming capital, whether it be just the things that Christian talked about, or you need new irrigation, or we want to improve the amenities or add amenities because we know that's going to help us continue to be competitive with clubs nearby, and it'll help with the long-term health. Well, how are we going to pay for that? Well, there's multiple ways. You can assess members. You can take on debt. You can partner with somebody like Concert Golf who has the capital and has a business model to do that. Well, if you're a board member and you take that fiduciary responsibility seriously, we should have a conversation while you're also having conversations regarding other paths, just because it's the right thing to do for your membership, right? We obviously think we have a great solution, or we wouldn't have done this so many times with so many clubs. If we didn't, we wouldn't be in business.
So speaking of, the capital improvements, from your point of view, working with all these clubs, doing renovations, seeing what clubs are doing well, what they're not doing well, talking to all these clubs, what types of capital improvements have shown, a really kind of direct correlation with increased membership and happiness and excitement and use of the club amenities?
Some of them are super simple. Christian, talk about your club's pool bar, and we've done that many of our clubs. It's just pretty shocking story.
Yeah, my home club, not affiliated with Concert, but great place, great golf course. The pool was just underutilized. It's not an Olympic swimming pool with lanes and a swim team, so it's a little smaller than that, but it was nice. It's clean. It's a well-defined space. But it was underutilized for, I think, a few reasons. And the primary one was that there were no amenities to it. There were some chaise lounges, some chairs, a table or two, and that was kind of it. So they did build a very nice tiki bar. It's got stools. It has flat screens. It has fans. They've got, food and bev amenities out there. So they've got some frozen. My kids love the frozen slushies. They've got ice cream bars out there. They can certainly go in. You've got a limited menu of, wraps, sandwiches, all those types of things. So snacks, bev, of course, people are having cocktails by the pool. That's a big part of it, but they upgraded all the furniture. The chaise lounges and chairs are much nicer, much more comfortable. They put in a lot of umbrellas around the perimeter, so there's shade, which I noticed right away was big with the moms with the young children, where they could get them throw down a towel on a chaise, throw a couple Barbie dolls down, and now your 2-year-old is happily playing in the shade. You're not having to lather him up with sunscreen every 5 seconds. So I think it's just a more enjoyable experience. The number of families I saw that started to spend a lot of time up there went through the roof. And I would tell Jordan, on a Saturday afternoon, beautiful, middle of the summer, not competing with a holiday of any sort, 4th of July weekend or anything, there might be 20 bodies up there total, a handful of kids, handful of primarily moms or young families. That same scenario on a Saturday after they made these renovations, there's probably 200 to 250 people there on that same day.
Holy cannoli.
So there was clearly a desire for it. There was clearly a want for those things. And sometimes the membership doesn't always advise you very intelligently. They aren't coming to you and saying, hey, we think if you did X, Y, and Z, we'd spend more time up at the pool. So you sort of have to understand the utilization of space and where there's opportunity, and not be afraid to reinvest in the club, because, that's one great example of a way where the space already exists. The expensive part of the pool is already there, and it's fine. If you just sort of add some ancillary amenities to the big one, the pool. I mean, you've got 5, 6, 10 times growth in the amount of people spending time there. And of course that translates into people spending money too. They're buying food, they're buying drinks, and they're staying there for a longer duration of time.
And that's easily probably transferable into half a $500,000 a year plus in revenue. Just those umbrellas, if you can keep a family there for an extra hour, 90 minutes, because there's shade and mom could put the toddler down while the kid's playing the pool. Dad might order another drink. Mom might order. Now it's getting close to dinner. We'll just stay here at the club and, have dinner here. Thousands and thousands of dollars a day in revenue.
And Denny, can you think of any better model than getting your members to stay and play at the club? I mean, isn't that really what it's all about? You want them to play golf, of course, or tennis or whatever their sort of personal agenda is, but a club that has people spending time there is easily the healthiest club. They're using the areas. There's a need for staff. There's a consistency. And when you have that, like, for example, the same thing at the pool, we had an amazing service staff there because they knew every day they'd show up and it would be busy and that they could make money. And so the retention of talented service staff becomes a big component too. Whereas if you have, sort of spotty business in an area and 3 out of 4 days, your A+ server shows up and can't make any money, they're not really going to be that engaged or want to continue that summer, let alone future, summers to come. And that's a big deal. You get a lot of your service staff is maybe seasonal, and they're not going to come back the following year if they don't see an opportunity there. So it affects a lot more than you'd even really think about.
Yeah. It's a positive snowball, right? That's what I was saying. It's even less about the revenue that you described and more about the engagement, which helps with the long-term retention and people staying at the club. And so that's the important piece. So we've done that. We just built a few kind of pool bar areas in our North Carolina clubs. We have one where, like, if you go on a Sunday afternoon at our club in Fort Myers and you go to the pool bar during the winter, so it's hot down there, it feels like a resort to me. There's TVs everywhere and there's just people that hang out there all day, literally all day Sunday. And it's just because it's where the community is and it's where they want to be. And creating those types of spaces at clubs are becoming more and more important. The younger the membership is as well, the more they want hangout spaces, right? It's like we're doing a lot of, building a lot of top tracer ranges where you have technology on the driving range to practice or just have fun with. And typically that comes with being able to order food and sit and hang out with some friends, or at least, spend more time at the range. That's what younger generations want. They want the ability to just hang and it be convenient and have a spot to fellowship, as opposed to just getting in a golf cart and going to drive. And so creating those spaces are pretty important.
Say one more, Denny, because it's such a great question on how to, allocate capital and what you can really, which amenities drive business and drive member engagement. But there's a big influx, and this one could be, controversial because I don't know that the investment is the return on it is so great, but I think it's just kind of the right thing to do sometimes for the membership experience. We see these like indoor, outdoor dining terrace sort of, it flows. And the reason I know this is how I feel anyways, is if you're eating hot food on a hot day and you're sweating, it's not a wonderful experience. And vice versa, if the breeze blows too much and your food's cold 2 minutes after it arrives, it's also not the best. So it's, I know I'm sort of picky about eating outdoors, but everybody loves in the summer months in Michigan where I live, or anywhere that, you don't get warm weather year round. You want to take advantage of the great outdoors and the fresh air, and you want to be exposed to it. But you also, like Jordan said, you'd like a flat screen and a fan so that you can kind of perfectly, climate control the area, be comfortable, enjoy your meal, and still have all the modern conveniences. So we're seeing a lot of interest, and we've done it a few places incredibly successfully, where the indoor outdoor flow, whether it's just well-placed doors and a lot of glass, or whether they're truly, even garage doors or something that has the ability to completely open up, seems to be the most popular place in the clubhouse every time they have one. So I would think that that's a pretty healthy way to modernize and upgrade amenities for the good of the membership.
Those outdoor heaters, especially in so I'm up in the north in Pennsylvania. Now it's getting the fall. You still want to be outside, but still want to be warm. I mean, there's those giant outdoor propane heaters, and man, keeps people, there. It's little things.
Post COVID, I don't know of a club that doesn't want more outdoor dining, but that less seasonal. So it has heat, has air, has doors that go up and down. I mean, that is, our club at Blue Hill, we have a restaurant over the pool, one of our dining areas, and it's all garage door sort of mechanisms. So if it's raining or it's freezing cold outside, you close them. You're just in a restaurant that's got walls like you normally would be. It's nice outside, open up the whole thing, and all of a sudden you're just eating a covered patio. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's an amazing outdoor dining space. Every club wants that right now. Every club, ours, it doesn't matter. They want more outdoor space. And sometimes those cost millions of dollars. So oftentimes they cost millions of dollars, but we're building them. We're expanding our dining out.
Well, I even know with me and my wife and my group of friends, even if we go somewhere and it's cold, or whether it's the winter or it's chilly and we see those doors down, in the back of our heads, we're like, oh, so they have, outdoor, really nice air dining. So now next time when it's nice out, cool out or whatever, you're like, oh, I would love to sit outside for dinner. It's like, oh, remember they had the thing, the doors are probably open at, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
So, all of this, it's building up to, the future memberships of private clubs. What are, from your point of view, from your research, from your, feet to the ground, how is it different, similar to, prior generations, how can people and clubs be proactive and address some of these areas?
This is one of our favorite things to talk about. If it is evolving. It's a great question, Danny. Jordan, you go ahead, please.
The younger the membership, my generation, I have young kids. Christian has young kids. They're a little older than mine. Show up, enjoy the club, enjoy the amenities, leave, and don't think about it till you come again. There's no desire from the younger membership to want to get into the nitty gritty of managing the club, which I think is different for this generation. I think if you look, I grew up in the South. And Denny, I'd be interested to get your perspective on this, right? I grew up in the South where there's a lot of churches, specifically Baptist and Methodist churches, which were always known, like my grandparents' generation, to be governed very similarly to to a private member-owned country club. You had a board of directors, you had tons of committees. Like we've had, clubs between 26 committees, and they hired staff, and that's how they were governed. That is becoming a trend that almost doesn't exist anymore in the Southern churches. It's pastor-led churches, right? With, maybe a board of advisors, right? That has a little bit, to keep the pastor accountable, but it's all about being staff-led because they're doing it every day. They're the experts and they're going to know better than the volunteers. And that trend seems to have happened a little bit faster. That same trend is happening in private clubs today, where the younger the generation, they want to show up, pay their dues, feel like they're getting the right value for their hospitality experience, and just understand what they're buying, right? No assessments, like don't assess me. I don't control what you're going to spend money on. I don't know that you're spending it responsible, so I don't want an assessment. And that's not about wealth, right? It's not about younger having less wealth. It's just about a mentality. And so we're seeing clubs want to become more and more just very, general manager and staff focused because they're there every day and they're thinking about it. And less boards, less committees. You see these greens committees who are often made up of dentists and lawyers, very, very smart people. And they know what they want from a consumer perspective. So it's very helpful. But, the superintendent has a turf degree and, and talks to the suppliers all the time and understands fertilizers, probably toured the Turo manufacturing facility, really understands grass. And so don't you want to just make sure that the job is to have the best superintendent in place and so that the grass is the best? Or do you want a greens committee arguing over moving a bunker? I don't know. To me, that's where the trends are headed. Show up, enjoy your club. And that's where, Concert, we have expertise in each of those areas, and that's how we manage it. And we still manage the member satisfaction. If the members are not happy, nothing's going to go well. So we're a hospitality business. You show up at a Ritz-Carlton and you expect them to give you a great experience for what you pay. And that's what the younger generation wants out of their club. So
yeah, well said. And it's any young family that you speak to, and a lot of the younger members joining do have families and are utilizing the amenities. Their kids are in the golf program, the junior tennis program. They're on the swim team. They're attending Easter brunch and Santa at Christmas time. And there's, movies on the green on Friday nights or movies by the pool on Friday nights. So it is a family experience. I think it was always intended to be that way, but we know that a lot of the clubs were they were guys' golf clubs, and they were dominated by that agenda and those desires. And I just think that, in a healthy way, the younger, more modern mom or dad that's interested in playing golf, but also as a family, it's travel lacrosse and it's, travel baseball and it's all the school engagement. It's just the modern society is very busy. And I don't think that people have the same amount of time to dedicate just kind of doing the same thing over and over. And when they do, to Jordan's point, they really want to make their splash. They don't want to have to worry about the price of a cup of soup, or being assessed. They just want to show up and enjoy it and return to their families at home. Time is so valuable. And we see this trend in a lot of things. We see it in the workplace where people want to work closer to where they live, or vice versa. They'll move. We see people taking salary cuts potentially to work in an environment and for a company that they think is more conducive to a happy lifestyle. So I think people are hyper aware of how they spend their time and money. And I think the more that we understand that and cater to it, the healthier that the club membership is.
Some would argue that, once the younger generation gets older, has more time, they're going to want to become more involved, have boards, be on committees. And I could accept that. Or if you're retired, you have more time. You may want to fill up your time with being on a board. You may care about your club. You've been there for years now. I don't buy into that at all. Just given some of the changes we've talked about, it's not what you see in churches. My parents, and I know this is a small kind of, anecdotal example, but they're at the age they're retired. If my dad, who's very involved in our church, for example, if he was asked to be on some committee, he'd be like, no, I'll show up and serve if you need me somewhere, but I'm not going to be in a committee. And so he's even starting to represent that when his parents were on every board and committee of their church growing up that you could ever imagine, right? I'm not turning this into a religious, podcast at all, but it is an example of organizations, right?
I'm 34 and I wholeheartedly agree. And I think we're probably all around the same age-ish. You guys might be a little bit older.
I'm a little younger than you guys, I think. 34, that sounds old to me.
How old are you?
40.
The old bat. All right.
I'm telling you.
But, and then I think as we get older, when we retire, we have stuff to do. We want experiences. We want to hang out with friends. We just want to make sure stuff's taken care of. I don't want to have to deal with more stuff at my club. I want to do, I always want to show up and be like, I assume you guys are taking care of everything. The future's looking good. Just keep me posted. Keep the stuff good. Keep the drinks flowing, and we're all going to have a good time.
And not only that, but I think that you'll find, the younger and future generations of members of these private clubs, if they don't love the way things are going, they'll just leave. They may not even speak up much about it or give you the opportunity to try and adjust things. It's very much a pay to play, show up experience. I mean, if nothing less, just look at the attire on the golf course and how it's changed in the last even 20 years, let alone 50. People want to be comfortable. Athletic brands are into golf attire. People listen to music in the golf carts. They don't want to put on a jacket and slacks and leather shoes to go in and have a meal. They'd much rather wash their hands, splash some water on the face, maybe comb their hair, than walk right into a casual or comfortable, at least, atmosphere where they can get a nice meal and where their kids are welcome and not seen as a nuisance because they're kids,
Well, and a lot of the outfits and things we spend money on, like they're more expensive than some pair of slacks and shirts. Like some people's belt and shoes is more than, the guy's suit that he's wearing, so it's, I think it's, from that point of view too, it's like, really? Like my jeans are more than your jacket. Not, yeah. I'm just saying like, some people when it comes to the,
sure. Yeah.
Dress codes.
Hey, I have a $125 Travis Matthew hoodie. Why? Because I like it. And it, they probably
it's got my club name on the arm.
One who owns it, right? So it does. It has one of our club names on the arm. I like it. That's exactly right.
That's work attire. Benny, this is what we talked about.
You're right. I mean,
this is getting the privilege of working in the great golf space.
Yeah. Hey, I've got my Ryder Cup losing team 2023 shirt on today.
And we love what we do every day. We're proud to do it for concert, and it's a lot of fun. We're able to go into clubs and offer solutions to a lot of the issues that they have, and it's pretty neat to see it all flesh out and to watch the clubs and the memberships thrive as a result, and to be a part of that. It's wonderful.
I mean, it's sort of like working for an amusement park. Like, how can you be upset when you get people to come in who are excited to be there, and you have cool stuff, and you're just around good energy. I would hope and assume.
And Christian and we're like, we appreciate the art and the food. So like, we both are elementary school golf course architecture students. Like we love how people take a piece of land and understanding who designed what and how they designed it and what their styles are. And so like, we get to drive around and we think about who designed this. And we have some great courses. So we have Jack Nicklaus Signatures and Tom Fazio courses. Some of the biggest and best names in golf that have designed our clubs. And like, we get to go see them. We get to talk agronomy. It's like how you sustain that artwork. And then like the food, like I'm a foodie. Once was a foodie. I guess, Christian, you're still a foodie, but, it's fun to see like, what are we serving? We're serving local trout at Longview because it's North Carolina and it's delicious. And like, so we are, we get to take all the things.
Hope you all enjoyed part 2. As always, if you are interested in recapitalization, know somebody, or just looking to explore some options, so head on over to concertgolfpartners.com, set up a confidential call with Peter Nanula, and see what options are available. Catch you on the next episode of Board Chats, and be sure to check out our previous episodes of Board Chats. Ton of valuable, useful information there. Until next time.